Hi everyone. Today is 4th of February, new month. So last month was amazing, really amazing. Now let's see how this month goes. There are a few things that will touch base, like some important development that we will cover other than technical analysis, those from more from economy and yeah, those macro factors. So we'll cover that as well, and then go through different alts, what they're doing. The relative strength is what we measure and see how they are doing with respect to their key levels. Now, starting with Bitcoin, I'll start with 12 hours. If we look back quickly, this is the first leg on the upside. Amazing move, consolidation, another leg up, and this is also consolidation in a strange way. So now I think it doesn't make sense to put this one because this is more in a ascending manner. One can draw a simple trend line. For reference, trend lines are very tricky, as I always mention, because you can also draw trend line from here. There is no restriction like this. So there can be different angles at which you can draw, and nothing is um, no trend line. I mean, all those trend lines are valid. You cannot say this is the only trend line makes sense. This is also a trend line. When we draw this kind of trend line, this is the closest one we could see, but then the angle could change. Okay, but this is important one in the beginning for at a very low time frame. And this support was raised for a reason. Earlier, the support was somewhere here, is this one. Yeah, in fact, this was the one. Then I had somewhere here, and now I have raised it for a reason. This is how we do trailing. I mean, this is how we trail the support, or I would not say stop loss because this is not about trading, but analysis. But you interpret that in your own term as a trader. I'll stick to my term being a TA. So this is more like a trading support. Now, there are a few things. When you look at this setup has nothing wrong about it. Means this is bullish. There is no weakness because this is not somewhere here. So at this moment, we cannot say this is going to go down. The reason why I raised alert on yesterday for two reasons. One is the report that the job report is too strong. When the job report is too strong, that means as per the Fed's guideline, because that's what Powell has been saying, he would like to see the weaker labor market, and the labor market is not weakening, and that means there'll be more demand, and he would continue to raise interest rate. Now the US the fund rate has been raised by 25 basis points, and the market was expected, and that's why it pumped. So this candle we saw in the stock market as well was because the market got what it expected. However, later on yesterday, Friday, the job report was very strong. So market realized, I'm talking about the stock market, realized that the Fed is not going to stop, because some of them would think that now this is 25 basis point, and then they would expect a further decrease in inflation rate, and then probably Fed would stop. But when this job report was not just hot, but it's like super hot. Everybody was shocked. So except Apple, I think all the stocks, all the major tech stocks was like they were under pressure or corrected. That's what we saw, and that's the reaction. So we had a positive upside move and also negative move because of this hot job report. It means that the Fed is not going to stop, in simple words, and that means that the pressure will continue on the growth stocks. That means also on Bitcoin, because I consider Bitcoin is also in the same category. And that's why NASDAQ is relevant for us. The Dow Jones is not so relevant because it has other stocks as well from other sectors. Okay. But the Nasdaq is fully loaded with tech stocks. That's why it matters. In my opinion, stock market would have gone down, index would have gone down in further if Apple would have gone down, but it stayed in a positive, like up to 4%, 2 to 4% range, which was amazing. That's the reason. Another factor that you see the changes in the DXY, dollar index, and the the treasury yield, which I mentioned last time. If you refer my last week's video, there was a hint that it was stabilizing, and now we see further positive move on the treasury side. That means negative news for the Bitcoin, and a positive move from the dollar index means the negative news for the Bitcoin. So we can digress a bit and look at those charts and then come back on Bitcoin. Start with dollar index. Look at the move, okay? And in this one, I don't have the support line which I had added when I posted, because this is a different layout. I would add now. This I have a different layout for weekly call, so it's not in here, but it was somewhere here. And I was looking at this level for very long. I mean, we had this support first, and then this one, and then this one, and then this shot up. This is not. This is like strong move. This, like, there were attempts here and there. You see, this is 12 hours candle. Let's move it to daily candle. So when it moved up, this is before the job report, by the way. When it moved up, I was on alert before I alerted you guys a day before on Thursday, because the chart indicates something sometimes before the event or at the same time, but always before the public news and the public opinion. That's for sure. So when DXY moved up, then I realized there's something wrong, because this was good move from a DXY point of view. This was good move, but this was not high enough, and it was below the support. So I thought, forget about it. We'll see next day when the job report comes. And of course, when the job report came, it shot up. But this is not a pump. If you look at hourly chart, it increased. Of course, it started with pump, but it kept on increasing like this. So it kept on moving up like that. If we look at higher time frame, this is, and I'll hide the drawings. Look at the weekly candle. This weekly candle is super bullish. This ended on the top. There's nothing like this. Wick. There's no top. There's no wick. So it ended with a strong move, and that is not a good news for Bitcoin. However, things take time. As I mentioned in my yesterday's post, it's not you click a button and there is some change in there, because I believe practically also there will be some decision making. Of course, we saw a little correction, but not much. But there was correction. But I think there will be a lot going on, and probably this weekend there will be a lot going on in terms of planning. And I would say the next week is super critical. This is like a pivotal moment. Like we had a pivotal moment somewhere in October month where it got rejected. Now look at this one. This rejection was also nasty, not good at all. However, it took three weeks for it to come down to this level again. In between, it bounced like anything, and here as well it tried to, but not able to break above. So this is what happens. So it may take a week or sometime a couple of weeks like this. There's no rule, but the top, it doesn't collapse from top like this. It gives time. And similarly, bottom also It doesn't just shoot up like anything. It takes some days. So that's what we are saying here. So when I posted, consider that as a proactive measure. So you also get time to think. So it doesn't mean I post it and just market drops it. It doesn't work like that. You know that. And sometimes it may bounce a little bit. But the key thing is, this is we are at a level where things could change. Like when we were at 16K, we highlighted that we are seeing bounce here, right? I was seeing bounce and I updated you. It took a while for it to happen, and once it happened, it continued moving up until now. So as I said, the present is still good, but the data points that we refer, which inversely move with Bitcoin, or I would say Bitcoin moves inversely with this data point, are are something that we have to pay attention. And so I'll talk about what I'm doing off the record in terms of my planning, but I'll just stick to TA script because that's what I'm supposed to do. But if you have any question, I'll happy to answer offline once this is done. Okay, from a strategy point of view. Okay, so this I don't have to explain, and that this move is discouraging for Bitcoin. And so next move is important. Next week is important. If we see continue in this direction, and I'll have to measure, especially somewhere here 104 plus would not be a good idea. If it breaks above 105.7, this rejection, then that would be bad, real bad. So we'll have to see the strength of DXY. Things change. So we never know. It could bounce, but then it could go down like this and make new low, right? Because it has been going down. So there was a so this is the reason, as we know, it reacted to the job report. However, how high this goes matters a lot. So if Bitcoin is strong, even if the DXY is rising, yesterday DXY was rising, stock Bitcoin was showing unusual strength. Even today it's green and it has recovered by, which is so amazing. So it shows strength. So it means that move like this from DXY is not going to bring down Bitcoin. When I look after 12 hours or so, it doesn't look like, because it's showing strength. So what I'm doing is every 12 hours, I'm having a checkpoint on my side to see what Bitcoin is doing. Uh, Going lower than 12 hours doesn't make sense because then there's a lot of noise. So when I raised, it was under pressure, but now it is showing strength. So I'm not changing my stand. My stand is the same because what I said is more on a higher level, on a weekly trend point of view that we'll have to see. Right. So this is a development that we have to focus on. That's my point. We'll look at treasury yields as well. Now you see, when I mentioned last time, I think, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, I said it made a new low. Usually what happens when you see this low, you see, okay, it came down, bounced, came down, and they say, oh, this is broken. And sometimes this could be like false breakout. So there's nothing wrong about saying this is broken from a TA point of view. It's a valid point that it is broken, but there are false breakdown, like there are false breakup on upside, and trader has to revise their stand immediately if this happens. Sometimes we cannot do in crypto, but in stock it's very common that they wait for one more candle on the same direction. Some people who are even longer, they wait for on 3 candles, like confirmation. It's called confirmation. So if this is broken, they say, okay, this is broken, but this was in transition and closed below, so it's broken. Technically it's broken, but sometimes they take conservative approach and they say, can we see another candle do on the downside? Maybe while it starts going down, they extend, or they wait for the closure. So in stock, but in crypto we cannot do it. Why we cannot do it? Simply because the crypto moves so much, there is no time to look or wait for closure. So the good practice about crypto, um, we have to change. The strategy is similar, but we have to change. We cannot rely on closure, a weekly closure, because in a week, a lot can happen in crypto in terms of price movement. So it doesn't. So we have to do something different. That we have to go lower time frame and look for the closure, like 12 hours or something, or sometime even 12 hours is too much. We have to go 4 hours and something. I'm talking about with respect to the key levels. But yeah, so that's how it is. Anyways, coming back to this one, it recovered. I had to mute everybody. Some noise. And then, so this was a false breakdown, and then kept on moving up, made new high. And then this was a correction. Then this correction, you see this, it stopped somewhere. This is supported. There were a few attempts. And in this case, it didn't make new low. I mean, it didn't close with, I didn't close weekly. So it dipped again, you see, but it didn't quite close. In fact, it closed higher. So that's why I had added the red line. And I mentioned that I'm adding this red line thinking that this is going to go down. And I said, I'm going to make it solid. But now I had to make it dotted. And I had to make this solid because this is what we're seeing now. It didn't close below the weak arm in support. So this is the probable path now at this moment. And it's all about probability. And this is how we have to change our stand. Especially, it's not that if you decide to do something in terms of direction, going long or short, it's not that you cannot toggle. Let me tell you, personally, I would do short and long or whatever couple of times when a key at a key level, because sometimes what happens, um, it falls, as I said, if it breaks below support, then you go in that direction. But if it bounces back and comes above, then you have to close that and do the opposite, or just simply be on cash, whatever is your plan. And if it goes down again, you have to flip it again. So that is something you don't have to tell anyone, but flipping in and out is required. And it doesn't cost much, because that you're playing at a key level, a little higher and lower. And that something comes with practice and experience, because these levels are indicative in nature and one has to pay attention. So what happens when coin is or price is near a key level, then the monitoring goes up in terms of frequency. Okay, so once it breaks above, let's say this breaks above and closes somewhere here, you don't have to monitor as frequently. And if it keeps on going up, like for example, here you have to monitor. If it keeps on going up, you don't have to monitor every like frequently, unless it sees some weakness and so on. So that's what happens here. You have to monitor, because it may make a new, if it this could have gone up as well, but then it went down and so on. So whenever there is consolidation, the monitoring amount of time goes up comparatively, because that's not where you are trending. And that this is the phase where people lose the most sometimes if they are not careful. So a lot of in and out also not good, but in and out in a narrow range and with a small position, you have to decide when you do in and out. Some, if you have to say, if I'm going to do 2-3 times, and then you have to determine that how much is it going to cost me in terms of fees or whatever percentage deviation that you see. But I'm just sharing that it's not that you take a stand means you taken the stand. You can change a stand, right? And practically we have to change. When I work with fund manager, we have to take stand multiple times, sometimes near key level, let me tell you, in and out. But we do in a very narrow price range, and with a very less percentage effort. And sometimes we don't go all in, and sometimes you have to minimize the damage, being for being I mean overhead of in and out by not going in fully and so on. So there are different strategies, right? You mix up them and do. So but the point that I wanted to convey is in and out near a key level in terms of direction is not a is nothing. I mean, it's normal. Okay, it's normal. But then you have to see how much you do based on how much you're losing, right? And then you have to take stand. But if you reduce your position, you are up. You can do more frequently because that loss is lesser. So these are strategies, right? So this we have to change it now. So this becomes a solid and this becomes a dotted. So probability of this is higher. So you see these two forces, dollar index and yields. And because yields will try to go up. Now the thing is, the yields are actually behind at this moment. The fund rate is 4.75. So in my opinion, this will catch up and usually yields are ahead. In this case, it corrected, but it will to catch up. So the the yields and fund rate has a relationship, as you could imagine. So fund rate is 4.75. So this will try to go and touch 4.75. In fact, it could go up to 5 and above. It is possibly because I don't think it will stop. So at that rate, and then somewhere uh, the Fed will decide because they are also targeting around 5 or 5.5. So they're not done. So that because they indicated a few couple of months ago, I think I don't remember in which meeting, but they were looking for around 5% interest rate because they had whatever forecast from their side. But they mentioned they'll continue doing it because they were not concrete in terms of number, but in one of the meetings they did indicate about 5 plus. So, but sometimes market moves, assumes things that okay, now inflation rate has gone down, so they anticipate some, and then sometime it's a phase that they take, like the time period, like a month or whatever, and they rally. The market tends to rally between two important events and there is no then they pull out money and people are not ready with that pace. The January months like market movement or Bitcoin movement was not easy for many people because it didn't give enough time, because it takes time to think. If somebody is bearish, talking about below sub 15k level, 10k 10k, everywhere you're hearing 10k 10k, and all of a sudden it starts moving up. It takes few days for you to think as a trader. It's very natural. If you don't have this information, the information that you're getting, for ordinary people, those who do not have information, it takes time for them to react because they have been hearing, and it's not their fault because 15k 15k 16k, that kind of range goes on, and everybody's talking about 10k, almost everyone. Then no, when it starts moving up, they don't believe, so they are in denial mode. The denial mode continues going up, and then when it touches 20k, they realize, oh man, I missed it. And then there is consolidation. They again they doubt the real move, and then they see another leg up about 20k and touching 23k, and they say, okay, that's it. Now the FOMO kicks in, and but the thing is, again, they're not aware what is happening, the factors that have been driving Bitcoin. The Fed's decision driving DXY, they're driving yields, and sometimes yields also drive, and so many things together. They are interlinked. And the ordinary traders would not catch that. So I'm assuming at this moment, they are in FOMO and probably they're fully in. So when we had said that they are going to bounce, they're expecting 10k or something like that. And now we are saying we raised an alert. They are in full bull mode. I know nothing wrong about it. So this is not, I'm not trying to say they should not be. It's obvious. because of the psychological reason I said. They were in denial, and then FOMO kicked in, and not at 23K, and they see consolidation. It's not a drop, it's consolidation. They're expecting a breakout on the upside. But I have a different opinion at this moment. But having said that, we are not someone who just stick to their plan, right? As I mentioned, if we have to be fluid in terms of our stand. If it tries to make new high, we have to close the opposite. If we are shorting, we have to close it. If we are on cash, say, we could go long. Not an advice, but this is this is not I mean strategy, simple strategy, that we have to change our stand. That okay, now we thought consolidation will end up with a breakdown, but it didn't. So we have to change that, something like that. So, and we'll be in touch every especially in this phase, and especially when things are changing, um, right? We'll be in touch. But at this moment, I have no ambiguity. So I'm giving you the direction from a technical point of view, that my direction is south for Bitcoin at this moment. But if anything changes, we'll change it. And as I said, it doesn't mean that we'll wait for a big move and then we'll change it. We'll change in a very narrow range, so that's not a problem. But at this moment, at least you are mentally prepared, not like social media people on social media who are fully in a bull mindset, right? At this moment, it's okay to be neutral. So I mean, erase all the emotion, erase whether upside or downside. Just be neutral. Just follow the key levels, which I'm going to highlight even further after completing this. Um, so we'll go back to Bitcoin and then look into. So right now, flush it. All the emotion, you flush it. You have to, because as I explained, this is a pivotal moment, and we have to see where it's like a U-turn. So if the U-turn doesn't complete, you go tangent, right? If you're driving a car, you go tangent. So means in more or less in the same direction. Um, Otherwise, if you the U-turn completes, then you say this is reversing. So this, when the U-turns are very important and very critical and tricky one as well. So whether as a TA, I have to always figure it out whether it will go tangent in terms of like in real direction. Here it's always north and south, but the point is whether it will complete the U-turn or not is something always remain in my analysis. I'm super busy, um, but I'm not updating you as frequently because it doesn't make sense, right? Otherwise, it's so confusing. Everybody's in different time zones. So I'm taking stand at this moment without changing. So little bounce is not going to change me. Little bounce from alt also not going to change me, because my focus is Bitcoin. As you know, if Bitcoin starts going down, no matter where they stand, they go down. So it doesn't mean that one can just short. You may refer when the support is broken. You may decide to do something. It's a personal decision, right? So it's up to you. My job is to highlight that this is a pivotal moment where the the correction may begin, and we have to, I think the Monday, when the stock market opens, we'll get more data, because everything is related. So we'll get more data. But if I now, since I updated you, at least you are neutral, right? And then it's so easy for you to take stand, because now you're not biased, because problem happens when you are biased. So at this moment, don't try to be biased at any side. We'll see how it where it, right? I'm leaning more on, let's say, 60% on the downside. So definitely weighing more on the downside at this moment, right? Because it cannot be just 50-50. I can be 60-70, depends on the probability, but I cannot be 50-50. 50-50 means it's like TA point of view, you are not sure where it is going, right? I have to take, so it is close to 50, but it's not 50-50, right? So 60% on the downside, 40% on the upside. But if it bounces, then the probability will change to 60 on the upside and 40 on the downside. If it continues moving up a little bit and so on, the probability goes up, and that's how it is. because it never moves from black to white. There are gray areas, but you have to say which direction it is heading or leaning. Okay, so I hope there is no ambiguity, and I hope there is no problem in changing the stand when it requires. Right. Okay, so I think this is clear. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer after this record. I mean, after recording is done, I'll go back to. So this is clear, right? The XY, and there could be other data points, but these are two important ones. I'll go back to our low level time frame, right? Okay. These lines do not any, this is just for measurement. As I mentioned, you can draw like couple of lines like this and think that this is first line, this second line, and so on. And then there can be horizontal line below this one as well if you want. Right. At this moment, I have this line. If let's say 12 hours closes below this, then that's not good. And I mean, then it will um, it will then go in direction that I'm expecting to move, not not something I wish to, but that's how it looks like. Okay. What else? Mm, yeah, we'll go higher. I think this is good enough. Daily, yeah, daily more or less the same. It's holding up. The support is holding up for now. Okay, so if it corrects, I'll remove this for now, clarity wise. Um, we can say it could touch this level. If not, then this could go down all the way here, 20K range, right? So 22K range and then 20K range. And not to disappoint you, but if those two things or and inflation doesn't change and the report, and we'll see in a month or so, if the so next 2-3 weeks potentially Bitcoin is going to correct. Okay. No, but it also depends on what other data points do. If they continue moving in the direction and inversely moving, in this case, this could go down. And not to disappoint you, but it can make a new low from here because this is still a dead cat bounce. So this could go really down like this. And that will be a real shock for those who are not aware of this. Not us, not this group. You cannot be in shock. One thing is possible that you may have to do in and out, as I mentioned, because that's very natural, and even experienced trader do that. Okay, so don't think that um, it's unusual. It's okay because it's not that somebody knows the future. But the thing is, uh, from a big this is a possibility, not a probability, possibility. The probability right now we're talking about 22K and 20K. But then it could go, if it continues going down below 20K, then the things would change in a big way, big way. In worst case, it could come down to 80K as well, support point of view, 20. But then, yeah, it could still survive. I would say this is my last level for it to, for its recovery. If it goes below 18K, then I don't think it will come down, and then in that case it will go in this path. So I right now I'm not keeping this drawing. This is just for discussion. So right now I would just say this for now up to this. I think 22K, I don't think it will hold. So 20K for now. So if this is broken, so this is going to be reaction. There's up. It's not like going a straight line. It takes time. So this goes down, up, down, up, down, up, like something like this. Tension. So that's why you look at this is like near end of the Feb month. So more like inverse, ups and down, you inverse, and then it would shoot up and then make new high. And again, so this is going to be checkpoint. This range is going to be a checkpoint, as you could imagine, right? And of course, if it goes below, we'll talk about it because we have enough time. We'll have weekly calls, so there's no need to think about. But yeah, in a worst case scenario, this could be the end of the bounce. I'm talking about worst case scenario from a possibility point of view, not a probability at this moment, not from probability. It has a lot of support in between, so we cannot see that right now. But a scenario to be discussed. So we'll go higher time frame now. Now I hope this is clear. Nothing complicated about this one. We'll go higher. Our Bitstamp, which has okay. So at this moment, the trend line is about trend line, but the trend line angle could be little change also like this. So it's so, as I mentioned, trend line is just rough idea. You cannot trade based on trend line, just to let you know. This is just to, it's more visual, for visual, help. Sometimes you would know when you have trend line, you will say, okay, now it could touch this, but so I could, I have adjusted a bit, totally valid. And then you see little change in angle, make this one below this price. So that's why it's tricky. So this is still on trend line region because you can consider little plus and minus. So this was a point of rejection, and this could be the point of rejection. And don't be surprised because the down wave hasn't complete yet. This is still in progress. The bear trend hasn't. This is amazing bounce, as we know. So this hasn't complete by any mean, right? This was a big consolidation, you can say. It is still going on. It hasn't broken above, and so it's not somewhere here, 30K, 32K, where we can say, okay, now we are talking about big number on the upside. Nobody, if somebody is talking about big numbers, that person is in illusion purely. And if that person is really, strong on it, then he's in delusion. There's no way one can say this is reversing. Okay. But we made money. That's more important. So we sometimes people stick to their stand. My stand is I stick to the market. Okay, but not in a reactive manner, but more in a proactive manner. That's the difference. It's a subtle difference, but a major difference in terms of making money. You have to see, it's like a feedback process. Actually, if in a we human, when we touch something, there is always feedback process goes on. The way we adjust, so if you have to pick up a pen, to to touch that pen, there's bidirectional flow, action, and a visual clue that goes into brain, and continuous feedback loop goes on until we touch it. And the touch sense will tell that we touch and we reached it. And of course, the visual distance also tell. But it's not one decision that you go and grab the pen, because for the accuracy to get that accuracy that you'll grab that pen accurately in the three-dimensional space, you have to, the brain has to go through the loop. So that's what happens in all part of the, I mean, all natural phenomena, in my opinion. Again, I don't want to digress, but these are related things. So you have to you have to look into the market and see what market is doing, and then keep on refining and validating your direction. That's what I mean. And that's the TA process. It's not that you say 100K and stick to 100K with a board, 100K 100K, and you don't change anything. It doesn't work like that, because the goal is not about being right. The goal is about making money, to be honest. Yeah. And you think if you're being right, then it's the same thing. It's not. You can be wrong 2 times, but if you're not losing a lot of money, that's okay. That's another thing. You must have realized that you might get stopped out, but you, if it bounces you back, get back in, and then continue in that direction. So you might have lost something. So you may say, I was wrong, fine. But how much you lost? A little bit, let's say. But then it goes up, and you are you are reacting that okay, it happened, but now it's going up. So you're changing stand, and again getting into the trend, I mean trade. Then what happens? And if it moves up, then you end up with profit. So that loss or that wrong decision doesn't affect. So it's not about how many times you are being wrong. Okay. But what is important, how much time you lose, how much money you lose when you're wrong. Anyways, so in a from a TA point of view, we try to be right um as many time as possible. And we will not be wrong in a from a trend point of view, right? Maybe here that it can, we could be wrong in terms of, not, I would not say wrong, but accuracy point of view, delay, you know, at a specific range. But we won't be wrong in terms of major direction, in my opinion. The kind of tools we have, and on my side, it won't happen. Okay, so this is where it stands. So we have to be watchful, as I explained, so I won't repeat it. And then this could really shape up like this. If in a bullish scenario point of view, like this compares to this compares to, let's say, this. So this could go down, this went down all the way here, and then went up and made another leg up. It is a possibility. It comes down and then make a leg. So that's a bullish scenario. So whether it's a bullish from a trend point of view or bearish, either way, the short-term correction is uh, highly probable. Okay, shooting up from this will surprise me, but I'll change my stand if that happens. At this moment, I'm expecting some correction from here. Let's look at the monthly now. So we had a monthly. Uh, let's hide it. Super strong January month, right? And then uh, now this is Feb, so we would expect it to continue. So this August high, if it breaks August high, which is 25.5K, that would be wonderful. And if it closes, not just touches, closes, that would be wonderful. From a candle point of view, candle structure point of view, it has to, I think, go up much higher for it to reverse. But that would be very encouraging if the week closes above 26K, let's say, or no, if I round up at a larger scale, that would be amazing. So that's what bull would expect. But this is at this moment, this like next week super important, super critical because of those two factors that I mentioned. Okay, but now we have the awareness. I think we should be able to handle it. Okay. What else in Bitcoin? I don't think anything else. Another thing I would show is the M2 for your information. It hasn't turned violet yet. It is still red. Okay. So above R2, it turns violet, means it changes. It's still red. So that's not good on a monthly time frame. And in a history, I'm talking about monthly trend. We okay. Because monthly trend changes time, takes time. Very interestingly, when I look at M2, it gave up bulls in the uptrend at $300, around $300, 360. Since then, there was warning here. For the first time here, it turned red, and it is still red. It will change it, but if you're following M2 and then probably you would have bought here, you would have bought at 360, you would have bought it here because there was no red. It was perfect buy the dip at a monthly time frame, right? This is also an opportunity, not even orange, remain green because the closing matters. Here, it warning, but so maybe one would buy here, but probably get out on a red. But then that person would not have entered if following M2 on a monthly time frame. But I'm talking about very large time frame because not everybody has that patience. This trend is multi-year, not just multi-weeks or right. This trend, look at this trend, started in 2015 or start of 2016. So we're talking about 7 years of trend. Okay, so this is pretty long trend. Usually people talk in terms of weekly trend, but this is monthly. So that's why it's super important. It's too large. Yeah. Anyways, so that's M2 I wanted to show. Is one more thing I could show. So this is so another thing, another indicator, which is a modified one. I don't claim that I have done a big deal in this one, but I don't like RSI in current state, so I modified it. So, but I would not call that I wrote something from scratch from achievement point of view. Anyways, this is very friendly indicator on a large on a weekly time frame to me. What I wanted to highlight is it works in a couple of modes though. In this mode, mm, we had a breakdown here, and then this was attempt, but I was watching this one and I never believed that this will make new high. I was in denial for sure, man. And then it got rejected here. You see this one, rejection, rejection, and here definitely it diverged and tried to come up, but it hasn't quite broken about this. You see this? So this is the first major move. This was another move, but it didn't quite reach to this. This is the first move after the top out, which has reached here. In other words, if it breaks below above, sorry, that means it could be unstoppable in that case. So that's a positive news as well. We'll have to see. This is also a good indicator. So I wanted to share M2 and that's MSI, which I renamed after modification. Of course, the little algorithm has changed, but nothing from scratch. Inspired one, you can say. Okay, so that's why we have to be watchful, right? So so trend line is one way to look at it. MSI you saw one way to look at it. M2 is another way to look at it. My my manual measurement is another way. Multiple methods indicating this is people talking about 25K. To me, 25K is not super critical at this moment. Of course, it's a resistance, no doubt about it. But in my opinion, the current level is the super important one. 25K, yes, it's important, but this is even more. And I know the social media is talking about 25K. And I know why they're saying. Why? Because the ordinary method goes by candle height. This was their height. They were thinking this is another one, 22K, and now they are saying this is 25K. They don't have this because this is how they do, which is I'm not saying it's not a method. It's a method. There are so many methods, but the TA has to pick the method which are consistently good and perform consistently. So that's the thing. There is nothing right or wrong. It's about how many times they're right. So there's no method which is always right. It's not possible. But you have to club couple of things, few things, and then say putting together what picture it gives, what picture it portrays. That's how it works. I think I said enough on Bitcoin. I hope you get a good understanding. This is important to explain from different angles. We also covered macro and other like TXY. We covered bond yields. We covered and other inflation factor. Inflation. Another tweet that I made. I mean, so in people think that inflation is going down. People don't think that inflation rate is going down. So there is a huge difference between inflation going down and inflation rate is going down. If inflation was 9% last month and this month, if the inflation rate is 0%, if the last month is 9%, and because it's measured in percentage, and let's say this month's inflation comes out to be 0%, which is not going to be the case, but 0%, then on also inflation is 9%, because we measure the rate, change in rate, month over month, year over year, whatever. So if this month is 0, that means we are carry forwarding. So the price from $100 to 109, the 109, and then inflation rate is 0, the 109 is not going to be to going back. The inflation stays anyway. So that's the point. So half a percent interest rate, I mean inflation change rate is also not enough. That's why Fed is not um, referring to reducing, or I mean stopping their rate hike. And that's the scary outlook, in my opinion. But we are someone we are a group who try to extract juice out of whatever we get. That's the whole idea. The big picture is not offering bull trend at this moment. What we have done, we extracted juice from 16K to 23K, and that's a big deal. Okay, and that's what we should keep on doing. Play with a swing. Okay, and we are still playing. And once you like this approach, trust me, you will not never talk about bull or bear. What your focus is, point A to point B. You will always talk about point A to point B. Whether the point A to point B is 50%, 100%, 200%, doesn't matter. You will never think about new all-time high. You will never think about doomsday. You will always remain in present and just try to be relevant to the trend which is going on. This is definitely a counter trend as part of the downtrend. Okay. I think this is enough, I believe. But if you have any question, I'll take it offline after this recording. What we'll do, we'll go through alts. Now, alts are not so important now with so much of information on BTC. What we'll do, we'll quickly browse them through to see where they stand. Okay. Atom is approaching the orange, which is positive. Nice green candle. AUX didn't move much. BNY did well, similar to Atom. CRO, not much. It retested this support, but not bad at all. Doge, little improved, but still there's no. I think it really requires pump from Elon, and there's no way. Looks like there's no other supporter than Elon, and this thing only move. I'm just saying for fun. Uh, tweet is needed from him. Otherwise, this thing is not showing anything major. DOT much better, like end to end kind of a move. Steady. Dot is like a steady. It is more or less like Bitcoin. This is what I've seen. The chart is very much similar to Bitcoin. No crazy picks. Okay, EGLD. Move. Okay, all the way support it twice, and then try to move up. So this is good news. ETH consolidating very much in a much better than BTC, but yeah, more or less in similar structure. FIL. So this is like getting some like facing some hard time here for last 3 weeks. It's not able to break above 5.8 level, roughly speaking. And also, so this is narrow range bound. But if it shoots up, it'll touch this orange. It needs permission from Bitcoin. Flux is more or less in the same below the previous high. Direction is still up. I should stick to this, not a beyond. FTM, look at the FTM. It broke above R2. Amazing progress. So far so good. HMT, nothing much. So nothing much. ACS is getting stronger. It's made progress. Pretty good. Link, nothing much. Link is kind of boring coin. Probably we should replace Link in my opinion, unless you really want it. We can bring in something else. Maybe APT or something, which is looks strong. We can get rid of Flux is strong, so not sure if you're a Dot fan. Maybe we can replace Dot. CRO is could go out. HNT is crazy coin. I mean, it when it moves a lot. We'll keep it. I think Link can go, in my opinion. We'll see. Post your comment on chat, and I would like to see. This is my opinion because it is not the same coin it used to be. So we'll see. Matic as usual, very strong. Look at that. But it's on a resistance at this moment. Sand coin holding up, consolidating. SOL also consolidating, but leaning little on the downside. Probably this is more forward looking in terms of potential correction at this moment. It seems so compared to other. Anyways, so this is how they look like. Why I don't have key levels for song? I'll check later on. I don't know why. Did I remove by mistake? Maybe I removed by mistake. Oops. I'll add them back, not a problem. Okay, so with this end, I'll end the recording. I think you got everything, or at least I have covered everything that I wanted to. Thanks everyone. See you next week for recording.